Okay, so glad everybody's here today. It's good to see that many people. So the point of this demo right here is teach you how to sharpen a tool, and secondly, how to present it to the wood. In everything that comes into this, everybody's going to say, oh, what angle is that on? Well, I can grab you this, and we could measure it all, and then I could tell you. But it really doesn't matter what angle it's on as long as you know what your tool is. Not my tool, your tool. And it's presenting it to the wood that allows that cut to happen. So, being said, everything starts right here on a grinder. We need to present and sharpen a tool because that's going to give us the best cut here. 3-4 years ago, I said, I want to learn how to turn and not sand. If you remember Dirk demo last month, his Christmas trees, he didn't really sand all that much. They came out really nice. So it's how to present the tool, how to make that cut, find the sweet spot in the tool, and make it your tool. Now, I'm going to show you what I do. I'll try and show some different avenues of what goes on, but it still comes down, I'm just the pathway. It's up to you to find your spot and your tool. Because I turn differently than George. George turns a lot different than Pete Wade. So we're going to start out with this spindle. And the first part of any spindle is the rough and gouge. Now, we can go here. I like the deep flute, rough and gouge. And then we're looking at making sure these shoulders are nice and square. I'm lazy. I use a 40-40 grind, so I just put 40 degrees on this because I don't want to change my tool. Buckeye had a flyer out that showed somebody that had a really nice adjustable tool rest that could change the angles just by switching the pins. I'm just lazy. So the big thing on this tool right here is I need these shoulders to be perfectly square. So as I present this to the tool rest, I'm going to basically roll this, keeping this line perpendicular to the tool rest. Okay? Part of the things on the setup, this is a Stuart Batty tool rest. One of the important things is setup. On his tool rest, this tool rest needs to be 1/8 above the center line of your wheel, or your angle is totally different. Stuart Batty also sells these nice little jigs in here for the different angles if I want to switch this up real quick. So right now I'm doing a 40-degree angle. I slip this in. There's my 40 degrees. And I'm set. So the nice thing about this demo here is I get to sharpen all my tools before I start working this thing, because I didn't spend a half an hour sharpening all my tools last night, so this is really good. We're in here making sure that shoulder is nice and square. I'm just going to roll this, keeping it perpendicular to the wheel or parallel to the wheel, and I'm sharp. It doesn't take any more than that. Important part is presenting the tool. ABCs, right? Anchor, bevel, cut. What comes after C? D, the dance. Okay? You can have A, B, C, do all this, and if you don't dance, it don't move. Your body's got to move with the cut. So I'm changing it right now. It's A, B, C, D. Do the dance. Now, sometimes you don't have to move your body, right? Tool is down. Boop. Nice. I'm not doing anything right now. Tool isn't doing a thing. I'm going to raise the handle. There's my cut. Because of the bevel, it forces it to the side. I'm here. It's not doing anything. I raise the handle. There's my cut to the side. It pushes it that way. Now, Some of you may want to do this. I have no problem with that. But this allows you to follow through and continue on cutting all the way down. Also, the chips are going away from me. Question is, am I holding it flat or I'm holding on the side? I'm holding it here. The reason being I can maneuver it also, and if I do this, I get all these wood chips right here, and it hurts. If you enjoy pain, go right ahead. But it also eliminates my ability to move on this. So by doing this, I completely avoid the chips. I got to move the tool rest. Safety, remember, shut off the lathe, to move the tool rest. Now, if you want a one finished cut, you can change the angle. Do that nice finished cut, but I don't care. A little rough right there.
What are you changing the angle to then?
Just following the bevel. Just putting it on the bevel to make a clean cut. Why do I want a square shoulder on this? Because I can easily cut into this. I have this nice little thing right here in the rough and gouge, 40 to 50 degrees. Now I think somebody said like they wanted 35 or 55 or something like that. I use a 40. 50 would be a little, depending on where you want to be aggressive on that. This is online. I'll make sure you guys get it. But basically, they're telling you here a spindle rough and gouge 40 to 50 degrees. So I use 40 because I'm lazy. So what I ended up doing here, on this cut right here, I used the square edge of the gouge, set it in, raise the handle to make my tenon for here. The only thing right now I need to do is clean this up. I won't explain this tool just yet, but I need to set up this, clean this jaws up right here. Set up that tenon. That was a bowl gouge, 40-40. I didn't have to use a skew on this. I could just set this up, hit the 40, and it's in. So I did with the rough and gouge in here, because this is 90 degrees, I can literally come across in here, and I can use this as basically a parting tool, raising my handle to make that tenon. So I roughed it, rounded it, came across into that. I use a 40-40 grind. You can go up to 50. Anything that you feel comfortable with. They make this in 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches, but I like the square shoulders. And to tell you the truth, I finally learned how to use this about 3 years ago. Because I would just use a bowl gouge to rough it out and be done. Do the smoothing cut, okay. A, B, C, do the dance. So on the dance on this one right here is because we're moving across. I got my weight on my left foot, I'm going to my right foot. It's just that simple. So I'm going to come across in here, I'm riding the bevel in here, I'm setting this up, get in there. And I'm just going to skew this off. Now you can see the difference in the cut between this chewing here and the smooth cut here. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but it is definitely a cleaner cut. I don't know why you would actually want to do too much with that, but I have my tool rest because of the thickness of this piece. My tool is at center line. My tool rest is below center line. So I look at what the tool is. Good question. The question is, where do I have my tool rest set at? You have to compensate for the thickness of the tool to keep it on center line. But that's where I'm at. Depending on the tool, I'm going to be changing some of that. Parting tools. We have a diamond point parting tool, a flat side parting tool, a thin parting tool, and a badan with tape all over it. I should have cleaned that up. So let's go to sharpening. I freehand these. So I've changed my top of my part for my 8-inch wheels. So that's set up into there. But the part that cuts is this part right here. So in that part, I have it set up as a 40-degree angle, but I need to create a burr here. The burr is what cuts. So yeah, I'll rough this just like this, catch it in here, but then I need to create a burr. So sharpening this particular tool, okay, I'm just going to come in here. And I got to see those sparks coming across the tart to create that burr. This diamond point parting tool, I come over here and I match the angle. And then I come across, slowly sweep down to match the angle. This flat side, I do the same way as the diamond. Come across here, find the angle. Flip it over. Create the flat. The badan, again, the burr is what cuts. I already have an angle set, so I need to just match my angle, slide it across, create the burr. The angle, the question is, how do I know? The diamond point's easy because it gives you a center line to work to. Sharpening, if you notice, I did it mostly freehand. Now, you can go across, if you really feel energetic, you can get the Wolverine out here, set your angle every time, mark it on your Wolverine jig, kiss it, you're done. The question is, do I ever skew my parting tool? Because sometimes the factory comes with a slight angle on that. If I had a dedicated piece for that, then I would do that. If I wanted to set it up just strictly for the dovetail, I would do that. But no, and I'm going to show you why in 10 seconds. So the badan, everything again is still approaching the wood. I want to start handle down. I don't want to cut anything. I just want to be right here. I slowly raise my handle. There's my cut. There's my parting tool. Okay? I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit so I don't have all that stuff sitting right there. Okay? That's a badan. The parting tool, I'm now using a diamond because it has a little less relief. Doug Thompson doesn't sell a diamond parting tool. He feels that straight in is straight in. The problem is I work a lot of different angles, so straight in isn't always straight in. So we're going to set this parting tool up in here. And I'm going to make this cut, but I'm going to leave a little bit of that shoulder. Again, if you notice, I started at 0. I did the hand jive. running the handle up into the piece of wood. I didn't just go, oh, I'm going to jam it. Doesn't make any sense. I can. It'll cut just like that. Did that sound good? Didn't sound the same as setting the wood and lifting the handle. I could hear the tool telling me something. It's as simple as that. We're listening to the tool, and if I jam it in, it just didn't sound good. So now, we're going to take this thin parting tool. Now the thin parting tool, I'm going to be slightly down on it. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to basically state my cut. I got to do a little hand drive on this. I got to cut, 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 cut. I'm moving my cut to eliminate any stress on this piece. If I go in here straight, it starts to heat up. I go on an angle, I bring back, I go on the angle, I go on the angle, I go on the angle, 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 angle. So we parted this off. Now, if you remember, I left this little shoulder right here. Excuse the noise. I guess that's why we have tail stocks. So I have this lip right here, and if I bring this cut to there, which gives me every indication where it's at. And I'm going to do a slight undercut with this parting tool right here because my lid's a little round. If I'm really lucky, and we match the grain, I didn't go deep enough. That's why you have one-way tool rests. So by setting up that parting tool, the bedan, setting up the edge, we got a full lid right there. So this allows us two pieces. The question was, do I raise the tool above 90? And what Mike noticed was the fact that I came across here and I had the tool here while I was cutting that end grain, because if I'm here, it's going to be awful aggressive on the end grain. So I'm more of a scrape than trying to cut, but it didn't really like it. So I switched it out. Spindle gouge. So a spindle gouge, I have mine more set up as a detail gouge, but this is the only spindle gouge I use. Now, somebody brought over a nice 45-degree spindle gouge, and he asked, well, what do you think? And I said, well, 45 works really well, but it's not going to get you into a detailed area. It's going to be giving you an able to rough it out and everything along those lines, but it's not going to give you the details that you want. So I just skip it and just go to these. I do an Ellsworth grind. So I do a heavy fingernail on my spindle gouge. Probably more than I need, but I use it for other purposes. Because, you know, if it doesn't know what it's doing and it's specifically, and you limit the tool, I like to be able to do different things with it. So we're going to sharpen up the spindle gouge. George was so kind to let me use his marker here, and I'm going to block this all out right here, because there's one thing about a CBN wheel, it's not forgiving. So if you're off at all on your setup, it doesn't work. I have lines marked. So I know where I need to put these. And I also decided that I didn't like the V-notch. Like this, when you set this tool in, because I would slide it all over the place. So I took my extra tool rest, cut it out, put a block of wood in, and drilled the hole. Now it doesn't move. So the thing about using the wheel and everything on this is I'm going to look for a witness mark. That's why I blacked this out, so hopefully you can see it better. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to touch it, and I don't know if you can see this witness mark here. It's hitting the heel of the tool. So I got a little silver mark there, and you can see it now, yeah. That doesn't allow it, so I have to make sure this slips back just ever so slightly. Now I got a clean, straight cut all the way across as a witness mark. We're doing a little dance on this. Not letting the tool overheat. And that gives me a really nice clean shoulder all the way around. That's a 600 grit wheel. So I would tell you this. If people come across and say, oh, I'm just going to like dust off, don't, because it just cuts. It's done. So you really don't want to touch that edge. We're going to turn a bead on this side right now. So I'm not going to start here. I'm going to start my bead from this over. But we have to dance again. A, B, C, D. We're on that dance. Where do I want my tool to end up? I want to go from here to here. Okay? This is a neutral cutting position into here. So I have to take this tool to make this cut all the way to here. So you're better off saying this is where I want to end up and then start over here because I want to go comfortable. So I want to be uncomfortable going to comfortable. I'm going all my weight on my left foot over to my right foot. The tool is not stationary. Yeah, I can make this cut. Oh, I'm going to set it right here. I'm not cutting, and I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to make that cut. We really don't want to cut on this nose. We want to find the sweet spot in this cutter. This is going to be true of all your tools. We want this to cut and shear the wood at the same time. So we have a cutting edge and a shearing edge to make that perfectly clean cut. So we're working on the cut and the shear at the same time. One removes the wood, one clean cuts it. Handles down. I switched my right foot forward so I can swing that way. I'm here. I bring my handle up. There's my witness mark. There's my sawdust. Handle comes up. There's my cut. Let me get rid of some of this. Here, not cutting. Handle comes up to make the dust. There's the cut. Body, the dance, the cut. This handle comes up into position. Get rid of some of that paper. I'm approaching to the bead I want. I don't need to go all the way down. There's my dust. There's my cut. I want the bead to be a little farther, so I'm in here. There's my dust. Watch the body, watch the handle. I'm not swinging it fast enough, and I'm not cutting. I got a really nice chatter in there. I'm going to slow it down. Tools low, create the dust. Handle comes up, body's moving, going to where the tool, I want the tool. Clear some of that out. I'm going to pick up the dust here. There's my dust. Handle comes up. You don't see any tear out. Clean it up just a little more. There's the dance. Okay, the part that's cutting right now. I don't know if you can see the witness mark. But my cut is right here. It's not at the tip, it's right there to give that cut what we're looking for. Using our parting tool again. We'll pick up the dust. I'm swinging this way now. Easier if I do it left-handed. I don't know if you guys can be ambidextrous. I'm going to do it this way, but I'm still cutting here. And notice that everything's rotating. Slow down the cut. Roll in the bevel. Again, I'm not cutting. I'm going to pick up the dust. There's my dust. Over to my left foot. Working that weight. Swinging around. Tool cutting. And I was going to catch that grab right there. So that's not good. Give myself just a little more. Boom, right there. Should I, let's hit this right here. This is where of this angle that I have right here, which I don't know what it is, what gives me an opportunity to get in there and do what I have to do. So we have, basically we showed the bead, now we want to work the cove. The situation works the same, except now I'm going inside out. Doing the dance. A, B, C, D. I'm also taking this tool and I'm pushing it forward. If I do this cove, he doesn't even like that cut. If I do this, look at the chatter. Okay? Yeah, we can prevent that by grinding the heel. I don't like grinding heels. I do have a few, but I'm not a fan. So I create this again. Sorry, Pete. I start this at neutral. There's my neutral cut. I raise the handle. I'm going to start here. Raise my handle, change that. Now I can make any radius I want. I'm pushing it forward. Let go on that. And I can create this sweeping action for any type of cove. Now, if you wonder why I have those nice wings, if I cut here, all of a sudden my wing becomes a skew. And I'm literally using it as a skew right there to make that cut. So by pushing that forward and making that cut, I can make that nice clean on all that end grain. Didn't follow my own rules. So about the center line of our bead, we take the corner, roll it. Now I'm rolling it, but I need to bring this tool over to here to cut that all the way around, to zero that out. And the same thing here, tool handle has to swing out to bring that back down to zero. Do the dance, move the tool, catch it on in there, bring it to zero. Get rid of that flat. Pick up the dust, raise the handle, pick up the dust. Clean that up. Oh, that was a nice cleanup. This doesn't know it's not a skew. Bead and cove. The question was why the witness mark in the black marker. I just wanted you to see where the witness mark was. But if you need to look at the witness mark. That's very, very important, especially with CBN wheels. The question is about the burr on gouges, and I'm too lazy. I figured after the first cut, the burr's gone and the sharp edge stays. That's where it kind of comes down to where a lot of your cuts, I don't know if I'd ever buy another 600 grit wheel. I like it for certain things, but it's not necessary. My concern is when I have somebody over and they're playing with my tools and everybody likes to run their finger over the edge of the tool and see if it's sharp. And then I got to find Band-Aids. This is 180. So I have 180 grit and 600 grit. The 180 is going to do you everything. And then you have to ask yourself, do you want a coarser grit? I don't know. I'd have to. Pete's saying no. George, you got a coarser one? Yeah, just for roughing. If you had like an 80 grit, you can straighten out your tools real fast. But I doubt if you're going to go back to it to do anything else once you straighten out your tools. When you get a factory tool, they've already given you an idea what the grind is. So that's a starting point, especially if you're beginners. Start with that grind, learn how to keep that sharp, and just find that sweet spot. You're going to find out that this needs a sweet spot right here, the skew. There's two types of skews, round ones and straight ones. I never could use a round one really well. But these are less forgiving, a straight skew. And especially when you're challenging me to make a bead, don't expect, no, you're going to get a half a circle. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. So sharpening the skew, that's why I wanted this nice 1.5-inch wheel, is because this is the widest tool I have. So I want to hit this in one pass, so I don't have to keep moving it. They make nice jigs that fit all this stuff in there, and it works out real nice. Angle of the skew, okay, it's sharp, it's steep. They say twice the distance of the thickness of the metal, whatever you feel comfortable with. Round body versus flat body. So sharpening, I'm going to work out my angle. I'm going to see where it is, and I'm going to keep this flat. I'm going to move it back a little bit and forth. Yeah, I got some extra facets on this. So I'm keeping my hand on the tool rest. If you had the one nice adjustable one, you pull a couple pins, drop it down and done. So here I am. Get that right in there, work that a little bit of an angle. Done. Come back in here, work this out. And I can literally see the burr disappear. Your other concern is make sure you overheat your tool. That weakens the steel. So don't sit there and just grind away. Have some oil there to dip it in as you go through. Grain changes in steel no matter what. You overheat it, turn it blue, you're burning your fingers, everything along those lines, it will change the grain. That little bit that I heated up, no, it's not going to make a difference. See, the thing about he's saying high-speed steel, will it change you don't need to worry about that. You turn it blue, you've increased the size of the grain. Steel has a grain, it weakens the steel. Your tip, your cutting edge will not stay sharp very long, and then you end up resharpening it real quick. I watched too much Forge and Fire. The question is water or oil. And I say I watch too much Forge and Fire, and friction, nice cracks form with water compared to oil. But if your oil is ice cold, you're not saving anything either. So if you're worried about really when you get a brand new tool and you got to grind the heck out of it, preheat your oil and then just grind away and then cool it off. It won't cool off that much. It'll keep the grain smaller. The question is, does the oil have any problem with the CBN wheels? So funny you should ask. And I will go through here because they say CBN wheels are forever. You never have to buy another one. Well, I have another set out there that I have on a grinder just because I lost it. So I was sitting at a show and I said, how do you clean these things? And some people say you just put some steel on it and go at it. PB Blaster. Take PB Blaster, let it soak 15 minutes, take a stiff brush, brush out the grain. It will pop all that bad metal out of there. It is amazing. So PB Blaster saves your wheels. If you have a wheel that goes on a side, yes. Actually, a skew, the question is sharpening a skew on a side of a wheel. Really, the best way to start a skew is on a belt sander. Nice flat, gone, but I do like the concave of the skew to get a sharper angle. This angle here, that's up to you. This one's a little steep. I'm not going to set up for the bead yet, but one of the things that comes in here for a skew, if you want to get used to it, my tool rest is now above center line. This allows me make that planing gut. So again, this is the sweet spot that we're looking at, is 1/3 up of your cutting edge. Don't go beyond that. When you start going halfway, bad things can happen. Keep it on that lower 1/3. You're going to say, why is the rest of that sharp? Well, okay.
We can't see the width.
Bring the tool around for the end grain. Here? Okay. Okay, you can see the witness mark there. Thank you, Pete. So there's the witness mark right here. And you notice that it is exactly 1/3 of the profile of the cut. Does that mean a wider one you can sit there and go farther up? Yes, it does. If you're doing just a nice flat cut, we got a nice flat right here, I'm going to work it in. Am I doing a dance? Yes, I am. My body's moving. I'm making that shift. I'm also rubbing the bevel. Not cutting, raise the handle, make the cut. Where do I want to end up? Here. Get past that. There's the dance. Raise the handle. Raise the handle. First rule. So, very clean cut. So we have this cut right here with a skew. Can we achieve the same thing with the spindle gouge? We're going to come across in here, and we started out, there's our cut, there's our dust. Need to finish one cut. One last cut. This is the point where I say you got to find that nice sweet spot. And I'm not doing this. That tool is turning, raising, moving, coming all the way across to here, and my body's moving. A, B, C, D. Dance. We got to dance. Same movement, comes across all the way over to here. We want that tool to end up into that 0 point dead center into here. And we want that nice clean cut. The goal is to sit there and get it to the point where we really don't want to sand. Okay, I switched over to this white oak blank. We'll make a slight little platter. What I'm looking now is bowl gouges. What do we have? We have, there's 3 different types of bowl gouges. This is a V. Boom. Somebody's hat in the way. Boom. There's a V. There's a U. And then there's an elliptical. And I don't know if I have an elliptical, if this one. Then there's an elliptical.
Parabolic.
Okay. Okay, parabolic. I'll take it. So, this one right here does not work on a 40-40 grind. A U does not work on a 40-40. So I will do this one and I will just sharpen it by hand into the shape that I want, into making a ball, because it works really good for hats. Thompson doesn't make a parabolic tool. He does a V and a U. So I like Thompson, so I end up doing a 40-40 grind with a V. And they don't recommend that. The reason why they don't recommend it is because it dulls very quick. Because your sweet spot on your sweet spot, which is going to cut right here, wears out very quickly on a V. And it becomes a bird beak. The part of the reason we work these gouges is this front nose is going to cut the wood, and this wing becomes the shear. So that's why that sweet spot is either just slightly on each side of the nose, because the nose cuts the wood, the wing shears it to a nice clean cut. And that's what we're trying to achieve. So I'm going to start with a 40-40, and then we'll go into an Ellsworth grind. So I have lines on my bed at 40 degrees each way. The thing about these wings right here, we want those wings to be straight. If it's a parabolic or elliptical one, I will literally have to move my tool to get that wing nice and straight. But since I'm doing a V right here, I don't have to. What I like about this, I set it up. I have this wing here parallel to my bed. I kiss this. I'm here. I swing over to this wing, and I'm done. I got pretty fast at this. I really don't have any facets on that. It's nice, clean, sweet. Beginning, you could sit there and have your handle off of this. Boy, that has a really nice beak in it. So the thing on the 40-40 grind, the bottom grind's 40, the top grind's 40, and it works perfect for a dovetail. This is rotating from here, and look where my handle is here, is at basically 0, parallel to the wheel, perpendicular to the face of the wheel. And then I'm taking it back and rolling it back to 0 again. And we're keeping this whole thing. This is a great thing about, you can go to ABCs, anchor, bevel, grind. Oh, that's ABG. Still cutting. So that all works out. But even in here in this tool, I can see there's a little bird beak right there. So I'm going to say, as a beginner, I don't recommend the V's. You know, it's a little harder cut, and you're going to be constantly sharpening. The only advantage you have is you're going to be constantly sharpening. You're always going to be working with a sharp tool. So we have this right here. I'm going to put this on a slight angle. What kills me is when people come across in here, they set their tool rest right here, and they start their bowl, and they start this up, and then they try and do this. You beat yourself silly. Worst part is, then you can call that a gouge, because that's exactly what happened. It's not a cutter, that's a gouge. We really don't want to work that hard. This is the bottom of my bowl, this is the top of the bowl. I got that right. We're making somewhat of a platter, or maybe just a shallow dish. So I'm going to start over here. I'm going to start this corner. I'm in 0 right now. I'm not cutting. I'm going to open my flute. There's my cut. I'm at 0, not cutting. Open up the flute. Oh, there's that dance. Did you see the dance? And you see any tear out? Yeah, I could rough the heck out of this and just chew it up. Why not practice? If we always practice a good cut, we will always have a good cut. I'm here at 0. Hear the, it's telling me something. Zero, open up the flue. Notice that just that little twist. This is where the angle of this badan, we've got some of that chatter, I'm just going to go across in here. Might have to retarpen that tool. I'm going to do a slight 45 so I don't kill anybody in the front row. I'm going to do a little scrape cut right here. Let's see, we need a foot about right like that. Just to get rid of some of this chatter. Do you hear the chatter from the tool? I'm rubbing the bevel too hard. Listen to the tool. It's all we're presenting in here. I'm making a witness cut right about here. I'm making that swing up. Now I got to float the tool a little bit because I was too aggressive with that cut. Okay, now I'm going to go to my next mistake. I'm holding the handle too short. I got all this handle in here. Let's work the leverage. Presenting the tool to the wood, working the leverage, allows us not to struggle and get that chatter from the tool. Everything is presenting the tool to the wood. So as I start in here, again, I'm zero. I'm not cutting anything. I got my handle out here. I'm going to open it up. There's my cut. If I'm cutting too much, shorten it up. I got chatter here. Back it off. I don't have that much chatter here. Now I can straighten out the cut. Now I can float the bevel again. Getting a little chatter. A secondary grind comes down to removing the heel, okay? So I have this rolling, even though this is an outside corner, I still have a ton of foot sitting right here, which is causing that the problem. So, if I redo my 40-40 grind, the question is about secondary grinds. And I take my heel off. So as a secondary grind, my cutting edge now 3/16. I ground that much off. So now I only have 3/16 of the bevel to match into the wood. So you've seen the problem I had here cutting this. I moved my tool rest just a little bit. Now, doing the dance. Got rid of all that so I can make a finished cut here. Pick up the dust. Need to do one finished cut. So that one cut right there, put a bird's beak in there. Because this is a V, the weakest part is right here. So I just put a nice indent just with my nail right there. I took the burr out. So it wears really bad right there with this V. So that's how fast it wears out because of this white oak being hard. So on a finished cut like this, this is going to be your cut you're going to get. Finished cut, I'm slowing down the cut. I don't have to be aggressive. I got a really nice, the tip of the tool is raking out the wood, and the wing, which it's riding on, is doing a nice finished cut. Pretty nice. Ellsworth grind. I sweep my wings really far. Again, there's reasons behind it that are kind of personal to me. And if you're asking, do I use an Ellsworth grind very often? I still do use it, just not as often as I used to. Got to go to my second mark. Okay, again, looking at the witness mark, I want that line to be perfectly straight. That's why I blacked it out. So that allows me to know that my setup is the same. Guess we're not going to go that far on that. Well, luckily, that's the only wing I need. Well, we're off. Uh-oh, I'm running behind. So there's two more. I want to show the Ellsworth grind here, and then I want to show the bottom bowl gouge. So it was with the Ellsworth grind here, I'm going to drop the tool rest nice and low, and I can create a shear scrape right here. So using this, I can literally shear scrape and get a clean cut there. Negative rake scraper, again, the burr is the most important thing. Now, you can do this in a handle, but realistically, it's not. Raise that up just a little bit. I got an angle on this, and the big thing is I want that burr here. So I'm going to get this in, and I got those little burrs going. I got a nice burr. I literally use this without a handle. Now, they call them negative rake scrapers. I guess you can scrape. And if you're working the burr very gently, you're getting that angel hair going, and you're working your radius back and forth, and you're moving it down your piece. The problem I have with that, it's scraping. And it does tear out the grain. So if I shear scrape right here, using that bottom third, lost my burr. Hang on. The question is, how do I know the burr is gone? It stops doing anything. So I wasn't seeing any of the shavings. It was just polishing the wood into that. Okay, so last thing, I just want to go with a bottom bowl gouge. Question is the angles on the negative rake. I guess I got a 40 going here on the top, straight across, and then I put the burr in. And it's not really all that important what this angle is here. The important is to get the burr on there. So we don't kill anybody. Again, start at 0. Boy, that wood's dry. Tore us a little high. Okay, bottom bowl gouge. I do a micro grind on my bowl gouge, bottom bowl gouge. So basically, I've set up here on a 40. The 40 is going to be turned just like a roughing gouge. We're going to basically keep it perpendicular to the face of the wheel, parallel to the wheel, okay? And then I'm going to make sure everything stays nice and square. I'm going to chase this around nice and slowly so I get a nice face. Now, I like the micro grind for the simple fact it's not grabby and it does a really nice clean cut. I don't change anything other than I know if I'm here like this, I got very little. I'm figuring about 10 degrees on the face of this. So I'm going to start this wing flat in here, catch it right in here, have it slightly down low, and I'm done. I've created about, it's less than 1/8 cutting edge all the way around. It's perfectly square, perfectly flat. I'm looking where my center line is in here, so I'm going to go slightly lower because I want this center line to end up right there. So I've created this, it's nice and flat. This will cut immediately. I can't tell you if there's a neutral in here or not. I guess if you do this, but you see it's already cutting. So I can angle this slightly this way, make my cut. Now what part am I cutting with? I'm finding that sweet spot right here. So this allows you to go 90 degrees on the bottom. I don't have to do this with a 40. I have to be out here to cut the bottom, which is fine for a platter, but you get a deep dish bowl, then you have a problem. So you need to be out in here. So I'm actually working in here and working this little bit of bits to be a shear cut on the bottom. And I just have to take light cuts. And that'll clean up your bottom. I use the micro bevel. So I have a 40 degree just because I always keep this at 40, it doesn't move. That'd be correct. The 40 degree would be a secondary bevel. So you could have 35, 40, 75. 75 might be a little rough because you want it clear. 45 would be probably ideal because you're clearing your chips and everything else along those lines. We're keeping this, again, parallel to the wheel, perpendicular to the face. We're setting this up to cut our 40. Right in here, nice and clean. For the micro bevel, I'm slightly dropping it because if I'm right here, it's going to be a true 90. It will not give us the cut. The more you drop down, the more aggressive it will be, because you're putting more cutting edge on the surface of the wood. So I'm trying to keep it about 10 degrees. So I'm right in here. I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to walk it right around. No more than that. If I linger there anymore, I make too big of a facet on that. And it's really a game changer tool, because when you start working to platter the bottom of that, it's been a difficult thing where people are trying to get in there and work it. So from here, I start working this tray. I'm over in here. Do you notice? The tool's moving, the body's moving, everything's moving again. Then I can clean this off. Now I'm working that platter from here. All this. And I'm working in front of the piece, working back and forth to make that cut. Sorry, we ran out of time because we have like 30 or 40 more tools we could play with. If you learned anything, find the sweet spot in your tool. Find out what D is in dance, and you'll be a lot happier. Thank you.